Richard Allen was separated at a young age from his siblings and mother. Around the same time, he became deeply influenced by the Methodist Church. His master, convinced of the sins of slavery, would soon offer him and his brother freedom by 60 pounds of gold or silver. During the American Revolution, he worked to pay off his freedom to his Delaware master. During this time, he became even more active in the Methodist Church, and by 1783, he was free and delivering sermons. He teamed up with another activist, Absalom Jones, and opened the Free African Society that aided black folks in Philadelphia, particularly women and children, in 1787. One day, when St. George's Methodist Church decided to segregate the blacks and the whites, Allen decided he would start his own church in 1794. He opened the first African Methodist Episcopal church that would later spread worldwide. Allen also opened a black Sunday school in Philadelphia in 1795. Many of these new black churches across America taught many children how to read and perhaps write. In 1807, he set up a school called Society of Free People of Color for promoting the instruction and school education of children of African descent. When opening up his church and getting continued support, white Methodists had growing resentment towards the blacks that had opened the church. In 1805, they asked the keys to the church and the books. Later, they asked it to be put up for auction because it was a Methodist church, even though Allen and other church attendees had built it. Allen tricked them and bought the church for $10,000. In 1816, the Supreme Court ruled that the black church was a separate church from the white Methodist church. He had achieved success in creating one of the first black churches in America.
Booker T. Washington was born in 1856. Born into slavery, his mother was a mulatto slave on a plantation, and his father was a white man who he never knew. Booker's first exposure to education was from the outside of schoolhouse near the plantation. Looking inside, he saw children his age sitting at desks and reading books. He wanted to do what those children were doing, but he was a slave, and it was illegal to teach slaves to read and write. However, after the Civil War, he worked in salt furnaces and coal mines in Malden, West Virginia, and attended school part-time, until, at age 16, he was able to enter the Hampton Institute in Virginia. A friend of the principal paid his tuition, and he worked as a janitor to earn his room and board. After 3 years at Hampton, from 1872 to 1875, he started teaching at a school for African American children in Malden. When he continued his studies at Wayland Seminary in Washington, D.C., in 1879, he was appointed an instructor at Hampton Institute, also known today as Hampton University. He was given charge of the training of 75 Native Americans under the guidance of General S.C. Armstrong. He later developed the night school for those who wanted to improve their education but were unable to do so during work hours. In 1881, the Alabama legislature approved $2,000 for a colored school, the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute. Booker T. Washington was recommended to be the head of the school and remained so until he died in 1915 at age 59 from heart failure.
John Chavis was an African-American educator and minister during the antebellum era. His exact birth date and birthplace is unknown, but it is believed he was born in 1763 in North Carolina. John Chavis was born free to legally free parents. His level of freedom allowed him to get an education, which was a privilege amongst African Americans in that time period. He graduated Washington Academy in Lexington, Virginia, with honors in 1799. In the year 1808, John Chavis founded a school in Raleigh, North Carolina, at which he taught the children of white slave owners during the day and free African American children at night. He taught the children Latin and Greek to help prepare them for college. Chavis School was considered one of the best schools in the state of North Carolina, where some of the richest and most powerful white men and masters sent their children to learn. Chavez taught at his school until 1830. After Nat Turner's rebellion, North Carolina enacted a law which banned the teaching of black children, which made Chavez have to stop teaching. John Chavez died in 1838. His cause of death is unknown. It is suspected that he was killed by whites who didn't want him to educate black children. John Chavez was significant to African American history because he used his opportunity of education to spread it and educate other African Americans.
Sarah Mapes Douglas is an African American woman born on September 9, 1806 in Philadelphia. She was born to two famous abolitionists named Robert Douglas Sr. and Grace Bustell Douglas. Sarah grew up with a great education because her parents had provided her with private tutors. When she was older, she became a teacher in New York, and after that, she came back to Philadelphia to start up a successful private school for black women. This private school provided African American women the opportunity to earn a high school education. Sarah became the secretary for a new society called the FLA, or Female Literary Association, in September of 1831. In this group, they had regular meetings that consisted of reading and recitation in order to build mental cultivation for black women. Beginning in 1853 to 1877, Sarah became a supervisor at the Institute for Colored Youth. While she was doing that, she also went to the Female Medical College of Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania Medical University, where she gained medical skills that she later taught in night classes and at Banneker Institute. Because her mother was one of the founding members of the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society, Sarah was actively involved in the abolitionist movement starting at a young age. She was very unamused with the prejudiceness coming from white Quakers, and as a result, she committed a lot of her time to fighting against slavery and racism. Through this, she met her really good friends named Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who later convinced Miss Douglas to participate in an anti-slavery convention where blacks and whites came together to fight for the end of slavery and racism. Sarah Douglas later dies in 1882 at the young age of 76. She greatly impacted the lives of many African American children and adults through her teachings in literature, science, and astronomy. And I'm sure that all that she did for them was greatly and highly appreciated.